28. That is how many children are being killed every day on average in Gaza, according to UNICEF, who says Israel's bombardments, its siege, malnutrition and starvation are taking the innocent lives of an entire classroom every day. And for many, it has now become impossible to contain their anguish. But one loud and far-reaching voice has been speaking out for a long time. Listen.
Hi, friends! I'm so excited to learn with you today.
Rachel Accurso, known by millions as Miss Rachel, has emerged as a powerful and courageous advocate for Gaza's children. Her platforms have amassed 16 million subscribers and over 10 billion views. She's been called the Mr. Rogers of our era. But it comes with a major backlash. And Miss Rachel joined me from New York to talk about it all. Rachel Accurso, also known as Ms. Rachel to, I know, millions and millions of children and their parents around the world. Welcome to our program.
Thank you so much for having me, Christiane.
So we are really interested, not just because you're such a powerhouse in the, children's programming and the connection with children, but because of how you've stepped out and stepped up for some of the world's most, suffering children, and most particularly in Gaza recently, although there are others as well. You probably know this new acronym that came up because of this conflict, WCNSF, Wounded Child No Surviving Family. What was it that made you step out and support these children in Gaza?
How could I not, seeing what was happening on our screens, hearing from Save the Children who had firsthand accounts, um, knowing that so many children were losing their lives. It's up to over 18,000 children. So as an early childhood educator, I know what children need. They need food. It's being blocked. They need water. It's being blocked. They need to be in school. Their schools have been bombed. They need medical care. I know what children need to thrive, and I know what holds them back. And it was very clear to me, along with so many others in our country and around the world, that it's so critical to speak up.
Did you ever doubt, because this is such a political, you'd think that the humanitarian would be an issue on its own, but even the humanitarian catastrophe has been so terribly politicized. Were you ever worried? Because even before you spoke up, it was a hornet's nest of controversy, the idea of speaking up for, let's face it, Palestinian children after October 7th.
Yeah, I was worried, and I was worried that I'm not an expert in that area, but I knew that I'm an expert in child development. I have 2 masters in education. I've worked with children my whole life for 20 years. So I knew that what I was seeing was wrong, and I had to say something, and I did pray about it. I learned everything I could, and seeing the images of the children, there was no question that it was the right thing to say something.
I want to play this piece of video, which is deeply, deeply affecting. And it's 2 kids, Celine and Sila, watching your show from Gaza, surrounded by the rubble of their home. And it's just the most incredible image, really. What did you think? And they've got joy on their faces, too, when they see it and they can communicate. And maybe for a second they forget where they are. How did that move you?
Oh, it moves me beyond words that I could bring a little bit of joy in the midst of unimaginable suffering, that I could be there for them during a genocide. Um, every day, kids message me voice memos. One little girl said, "Will you stay with me? I lost my whole family." So seeing that and seeing the little ones watching in tents and watching in the rubble, I'm just so grateful that I can be there for them, and I know what my responsibility is as somebody who has this platform to stand up for them. So I'm doing everything I can.
I want to play a little video again, a soundbite really, with people talking. It's a video of the brothers. I know you know this well, Maha and Malik, who posted this video talking to them from their tent after their homes had been completely, obviously devastated. I can see your smile. I mean, you just communicate and feel without me even having to go into it. So here's this little piece of their sound.
Hi, Maher. Hi, Malik.
Hello, Miss Rachel. How are you? Cinderella from Gaza.
Thank you for the love. I really appreciate that. I'm sending you love back.
Can you tell our story?
Okay, Miss Rachel, this obviously still brings you to tears.
I see them like I see my son, and the fact that they could have everything they need and it's miles away. It's so frustrating, and I just wish we could wrap them all up in love and give them everything they need, and we could. That's what's so painful. They should be in school. He's so bright. He should be in school.
Okay, so tell me, because you yourself are an educator, you know what it means when children aren't in school, and these children haven't been in school for, 21 months. Yesterday, you wrote on Instagram, I'm coming to the excruciating realization that people haven't seen everything I've seen and aren't moved to do so. My heart is broken. Tell me about that.
Well, I think in your advocacy journey, sometimes you get really frustrated because it feels like you're in a nightmare saying, hey, 18,000 kids have been killed. They're the highest cohort of child amputees in modern history. And you just try so hard to get people to move. And so I was frustrated, but I I have to hold on to hope for them. And there was a beautiful quote I read recently about how we need to hold on to hope for children of the world. I also think a lot about child development, being an expert in that area. So 0 to 3, the brain, it's such a critical time. So if you're exposing children to trauma and malnutrition during that time, it can have effects for a lifetime. And I'm thinking about all those little ones who aren't getting that chance. And don't we as grown-ups in this world have a responsibility to give all children that chance? I don't believe that deep care and that responsibility ends at our own children.
So, talking about our own children, you know, there has been a backlash to you. And of course, you've spoken out about the Israeli children, the infants and the toddlers who were wounded, who were kidnapped even on October 7th. And that doesn't seem to satisfy the critics. Tell me about how you've suddenly found yourself and how you're dealing with empathy for all children, but some people don't want to see it for some children.
It's so tough. I was talking to James Elder from UNICEF, and he was telling me about having to start at square one with Palestinian children, that they're human. And I feel like I've had that experience, and it is beautiful to see that, and sad, but also beautiful that some people see the kids on my Instagram and see them laughing to the show and hopping like bunnies, and they say, "Oh, this made me realize that they're like our kids." So the dehumanization is so painful. And then I have so much empathy for an Israeli mom waiting for her child to come home. And I have so much empathy for the people of Gaza losing their families, and these little ones, this little girl Maha who's lost her entire family, another little boy Adam who lost his entire family. These aren't numbers. These are little ones who are so sweet. I have videos of both of them. They're just like the sweetest kids. And I think that the numbers are so vast, and we think, oh, that's a number, that's a number. It's like, look at my Instagram, look at Rahaf's joy, look at her sweet innocence. She's just a delight. That little girl is incredible. And she's doing really well now because she is here and she is getting medical care, and she's using prosthetics. But then you also see her and say she shouldn't have lost her legs, and her mom shouldn't be video chatting her sons that are away from her in Gaza, and they can't eat on FaceTime anymore because her sons are hungry. Like, we have to put ourselves in the shoes so her mom is a teacher like me, so I put myself in her shoes and I imagine FaceTiming my husband with my sons in Gaza and then having my daughter here without legs. Like I put myself in the situation of an Israeli person watching those videos that came out, and it's just excruciating. So I feel for everyone, and I know who I am, and I think the backlash, it's painful, but then you have to be like, I know who I am and I know what's right. And I will say, Christiane, that I think there's a little bit of a narrative that there's so much backlash, and there was before, but I realize, you think you're on the internet and you're getting a lot of backlash, and then you walk out on the street and people come up to you in tears and say, "Thank you so much for talking about Gaza. It's so heartbreaking." People who don't have a connection to it. I was shopping for Rahaf in the toy store, and a woman came up to me in tears and was just hugging me and saying that, and people from all walks of life in different states just coming up and saying, "Thank you, thank you, thank you."
Mm.
And even some people coming up and saying, we don't agree on every point, but I know these kids need aid. And so I think we can disagree on certain points, and we just all know that we have to treat people better. And I always focus on the children, but I mean all the innocent civilians, men, women, and children that are starving.
People know, and you've described that very well, and there's more and more, awareness since those terrible pictures of emaciated children are coming out, and the numbers of especially children who are said to have died of starvation there by the UN and others. But I want to just quickly put this little piece of video that you shot. You filmed a special episode with Rahaf, who you've just been talking about, the amputee victim who's now in the United States.
Wake up, little bunnies! Skip, little bunny, skip, skip, skip. Skip, little bunny, skip, skip, skip. Skip, little bunny, skip, skip, skip. Skip, 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 then stop. Let's hop again. Hop, little bunnies, hop, hop, hop. Hop, little bunnies, hop, hop, hop. Hop, little bunnies, hop, hop, hop. Hop, 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 then stop. Yay!
It speaks for itself, it really does, and it's very joyful. Where do you get your empathy, which you're clearly demonstrating? How did that come to you? And how do you know how to speak to children without speaking down to them to make them connect with you so viscerally?
I think like years of working with kiddos in all different circumstances, and I imagine children when I'm talking on camera. I have a great imagination. I don't know if that affects the empathy. I have a lot of anxiety too. Maybe that's part of it, but I think it. I just imagine the kids, and I think working with them for so many years, learning what delights them, learning what they are afraid of, and just trying to be there for them. I've always loved kids. I wanted to help kids when I was a kid. I told my mom that I wanted to help children in need. She's like, "You're a kid," it's been kind of a calling, probably from. Actually, I believe it's a calling from God to help kids and help with hunger. I've always thought about hunger since I was little as well, and um, yeah, it's just who I am. It's genuine, and the kids feel it,
Yeah,
the
they
genuine
feel it.
care. I wouldn't Yeah, and I wouldn't be Miss Rachel if I didn't deeply care for all kids, so that's part of why I use my platform to try and help all kids. It keeps me up at night, kids not having food, because it just seems solvable.
Yeah, well, it is solvable and it should be solved. Can I ask you about, because you're Miss Rachel and you are, the current generation's Mr. Rogers. So for anybody who doesn't know, Mr. Rogers was a beloved television personality, again, a children's personality on television. And you grew up watching him, right? And he's somebody who inspired you.
Yes, my whole life he's inspired me, and I can't take the comparison because to me he's, a saint, and I just revere him and what he did with his show, and I watched since I was little, and yeah, I read like all his but all the biographies of him, and I watched all the documentaries in my 20s and 30s, and I had no plan to go into children's media, so it's kind of funny. At one point I was like, I want to write a musical about Mr. Rogers because I'm a composer, just showing like what he did with media, and that he felt that media could do so much for people, and that we need to really think about the media that kids watch, and it's a big responsibility. So I think about him all the time. I actually keep a screenshot of him
Mm.
on my phone, and my husband actually just got me a beautiful little he hand wrote Mr. Rogers hand wrote some of the music and signed it, and my husband found that, so that meant a lot to me. Actually, I had gotten some backlash that day, and I opened it and started crying, because I just felt like I can do this, no matter what.
Rachel, yesterday you made a post. You said you're not comfortable working with anyone who hasn't spoken out about Gaza. That's pretty dramatic. Mr. Rogers himself was quite political in his own way, in that he was a major personality in civil rights, and he had that moment where he sat with his legs in a kid's pool with a member of the black community. And it was at a time when there was so much backlash about desegregation, and particularly around pools. Whites didn't like, in America, sharing their pools with blacks at that time. So you are actually navigating a moment which does demand people to stand on one side or the other of history. Do you feel that responsibility as well? And I guess related, how do you talk to all your children who watch you about some of the terrible things that happen in the world? What do you say to them?
I have a screenshot of the pool moment, because it it seems like it almost seems like that would be easy now, because times have changed so much, although there's still a lot of racism. But it seems like, but I kept thinking about how hard that must have been, and he did get tons of hate and backlash for a lot of things he did. But I read about a family that was the end of that conversation for them. If pools should be segregated, they were like, Mr. Rogers did it. So I think I wanted to show that Rahaf is my friend, and I love her, and that I think she's precious, and that I think she deserves everything that any other child deserves. Children are equal, and I see them all the same. And so our audience is 0 to 4. I talk about big feelings and how to handle big feelings, but I don't go into things like war. I'd say with my own child, that I always think about that you have to be developmentally appropriate, but you can tell the truth, but you need to figure out what's developmentally appropriate, what they can handle for that age. So.
Well, Rachel Accorso, Miss Rachel, you have impacted millions and millions of people, kids 0 to 4, and their parents, obviously, all over the world. And we're really happy that you came on our program to talk about it. So thanks for joining us.
I'm so honored to join you. Thank you so much for having me.